I've actually taken time to review the UKCAA report itself. Mm-hmm. And first of all, I need to say, I mean, I'm not speaking for Air Peace. I'm speaking for the industry.
Right.
A ramp inspection, it needs to be understood, is akin to having your VIO stop a vehicle on the road and ask to see certain things, whether or not you're compliant with the regulations.
Right.
As required, the UKCAA did what you call a ramp check, a series of ramp checks over a period of time on Air Peace. And on one of the several ramp checks, apparently they had observed that the electronic flight bag used in the cockpit for navigation purposes, they felt there was no approval for it. But incidentally, the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority actually has approved the use of the electronic flight bag in the 777s operated by Air Peace. And that is contained in the op specs attached to the airline's air operator certificate. Actually, they have a copy of that in the cockpit library, which is kept in every aircraft operated by the airline. A copy of that is usually in the cockpit. But as it turned out on the day, apparently they could not cite it. So it was written out as an infraction. And as required, the UKCAA wrote to Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority indicating the observations they've reached, they found out, to ask the UKCAA to ensure that there was compliance. I mean, the Nigerian CAA rather, to ensure there was compliance. And of course, by the time the CAA was notified in Nigeria about the fact that there was an approval issue on the EFB, it was clearly stated that there was an EFB approval, which was shown to them. So that element of that particular supposed infraction was closed. The issue of not having a mount for iPads, I mean, iPads are used in a cockpit to sort of reduce crew workload, because on each iPad, operated by a crew member, you have all the navigational charts. Ideally, if you wanted to carry all the navigational charts for each section of the airspaces the aircraft will traverse, you're talking a huge volume.
Right.
So to make it easy, airlines all over the world today use iPads, and they load in the electronic versions of those Jeppesen charts on the iPads. Air Peace has the same approval. They have mounts in those airplanes, and they have charging ports. Because, I mean, you wouldn't have the mounts without the charging ports.
Right.
But of course, at the point at which the CAA authorities, ramp checked the aircraft, it had concluded the flight. At the point at which they stepped into the cockpit, the crew were about disembarking themselves. So they had removed the mount of one of the cockpit positions, because each pilot carries his own iPad.
Right.
So to that point, I mean, it was like, oh, you don't have it. I said, well, we do have it. But of course, at this point, the flight had been concluded. So it was like, okay, we didn't see it. So assuming they had ramp checked them before departure,
Right.
that would have been sin.